we talked about Windows and how you would manage working with Python in a Windows environment. And in this one, we're going to do the same, but for Debian Linux. So this is a completely fresh installation, and we're going to set everything up so that you can create a virtual environment and work with the version of Python that you want to work with. So let's begin by assessing what we have right from the start. So what happens when we do this? Python. Let's say Python version. Okay, the default version on a Debian 10 at the moment is 2.7. Do we have more versions? Let's check it out. Okay, we have 3.7 as well. So Python 3.7. This is going to work here. That's pretty cool about Linux. It's not going to work in Windows, but here it will. Version. And it immediately works. You could actually run a script in 3.7, but this is that's not good enough. There's 3.9 already, and I want to work with the newest one. So let's download it. Python.org. And here we're looking for source code. There's no nice executable which we can use. It's a tarball. We need to use the source code. So let's save it somewhere. Let's see where it is. Well, actually, let's open the archive manager. We don't need this. Although, extract. Nice. We're going to extract it on the desktop. And by the way, if you don't have a graphical user environment, if you don't have a GUI, you need to use this command right here. tar. Just locate, navigate to the place where your tarball is and try with this. Tar, and then I think it was xf or something, and then you give it the name, you pass it the name of the compressed file that you want to, or you could actually do something like this, tar help, and then you're going to learn a lot of stuff about the tar command. I think most places online are going to recommend something like tar xvf, v is for verbose, but yeah, up to you. Right, so here we're choosing where we want to unpack it, and we want to unpack it on the desktop, no? So let's go back one, desktop, and here. Extraction completed successfully. Close. Oh, it didn't show up here. By the way, some things are going to surprise me as well. I'm just doing this for the first time as well. I did it on Ubuntu before to prepare for this video, but this is the first time I do it on Debian. So let's see where we are right now, by the way. Cool. Maybe it's on the desktop, but it's hidden. Yes, so it's on the desktop, but it was hidden. So let's go here, and we actually are going to compile it now. So first of all, we have to run this script right here. This is the usual way that you are going to compile from source. You run this script here, configure, and what this is going to do is it's going to, well, maybe it's an oversimplification or straight up wrong, but the way I understand it, if you run the configure script, what it's going to do is it's going to look around and it's going to check which system it's on. It's going to decide which directories it wants to use and make sure that everything is with what happened here. Well, if you're starting with a fresh version of Debian, we don't even have the tools that we need to compile a source code. If you're starting with an Ubuntu or a Fedora or something else that's a little bit more mainstream, I think you're going to be okay. But here we have to install the build essential. So let's do it. So what this does is it allows us to compile C code, I think, and I'm not sure if it's just C, but it's just basically going to make it possible that we take the source code for Python and compile it into a working application that we can use. So we're installing build essential now, and I'll get back to you once it's done. Okay, cool, it's done. We're in the same directory, we haven't moved. So all we have to do is just go with configure one more time. Again, what this script does is it looks around, it checks out on on what kind of system it is and make sure that everything goes in the right place. Or at least I understand it like this. And another thing that it's going to do is it's going to create a make file. And this make file we're going to use to compile the new version of Python and to, no, actually what it's going to do, I think, is just distribute the already compiled files into the correct directories. Now there has to be a make file here. Let's see. Well, I can't see it. Oh, there it is, the make file. So this was just created by the configure script, and we're going to use this make file to finish the installation. And the way you do it usually is you do make and then make install. But in this case, I think we're just going to get away with just doing make alt install. Alt stands for alternative install here. So this means that we're going to use this because we have other versions of Python as well. We have other versions of the same application, and so we have to use alt install, and that way the make file knows that there's others as well. So it breaks nothing. All right, we're done. There seems to be some kind of error, which initially I'm going to ignore and see if maybe it's still going to work anyway. Let's first remember the error here, makefile 1264. I'm just going to copy it real quick in case I need to Google it later and figure out what I need to do. Return non-zero exit status 1. I think I'm going to copy the whole thing, something like this. And now let's see if it's going to work anyway. And what we could do is just straight up try and run it, Python 3.9, like this. Well, it seems to be working. Yeah, it seems to be okay. Maybe something is going to break if it's some kind of a larger project, and then I'm going to try and figure out what happened and fix it, but it seems to be fine. So yeah, this is how you would install a new version of Python that you didn't have before. But now, every time you type Python, you're still going to get that 2.7, right? Because that's the default one. And why is the default one? Well, let's talk about the path. Now, Windows has a path variable and Linux has one as well. It's right here. And this is, again, different directories that if there's an executable in any of them, when you type it here in the terminal, it's going to execute it. So the way it works is pretty much exactly the same. The leftmost is the first one, then it goes into this one, and then it goes into this one, this one, this one. If it finds something, it executes it. So every time we type Python, what does this mean? Well, it means that in one of those, there's something called Python. It's going to be in this one, I believe. In fact, yeah, let's go ahead and find it. Let's go in user bin and cd Python. And right here, there's going to be loads of stuff because this is the kind of the default place where executables go. No, I'm not gonna do that. Instead, I'm just gonna go with file. Let's show you that it's there. ls Python. When you pass it, when you pass ls a specific keyword here, it's going to show you just this. So it just confirms that it's in this directory. But then what you can do is type file Python, and this is going to tell you exactly what this is. And it is a symbolic link to Python 2. What does this mean? Well, a symbolic link is, think of it as kind of a shortcut. So this is not the file itself, but every time it gets executed, it points to the file that we wanted to execute. So what would be the solution here then to change the version of Python for the entire system? Well, change what this symbolic link is pointing to. Change what this symbolic link here is pointing to, and then you will get the version you want. Now, how do you do this? I learned this from a cool article as well online just recently, and I'm going to link it in the description. But you use a piece of software that comes pre-installed, well, at least in Ubuntu. Let's see if it's here. Cool, it's here as well. So update alternatives is what we use. And what this does is it manages those symbolic links in your path variable, and then it makes sure that they point to the right version of Python that you want. So now we have another problem. And this problem would be, how are we going to install modules? And does every version of Python that we have now, does every version of Python have pip? Well, who knows? Let's try something. Let's try pip install. And we want to create a virtual environment as well in the end. So let's go with virtualenv like this. Well, there is no such command. There's no pip, so there's no executable called pip in the path variable. Well, I'm gonna give you a little hint here. The pip installer does not come included in this Debian. I think we need to actually install it from the apt package manager. So you need to do something like apt get install pip. Oh, by the way, there's no need to there's no need to do sudo. We're already root. I forgot that I was too lazy to add my other user to the super user. So, well, now what we're getting is that there is no such package. There's no package called pip. So what do you do in this case? Well, if you're on a Debian system, you could use apt cache. You could do something like apt cache search. And then here you could go with, let's say, pip. Just search directly for pip. I think this is going to be a bit too many results. Yes, it was very, very annoying. So now I have to scroll up and find it. pip3 get install Python pip, like this. And we didn't have it. Yep, I was right. It doesn't come pre-installed. So if you want modules on this Debian, or I think most distributions, you're probably going to have to install pip by yourself from the package manager, or whatever method is available on your distribution. Okay, now we're waiting for pip to get installed, and once it's done, we can create a virtual environment finally. Actually, it's definitely not going to be that easy. Let's install something. Let's go with pip install virtualenv, like this. Okay, now that now that this is over, we have virtual environment now. So can we just do virtualenv? No, let's not do it in this directory. Let's go to our desktop. I think it's in cd home odahar desktop, and let's try and create a virtual environment here. Yeah, virtual env. And this is where it's going to be very important that you can control the system version of Python with update alternatives, the program that I showed you earlier, the program that you can read about in the article below. Because when you create something here with this virtualenv, it's going to use, I think, your system version of Python. And that's the only way your pip installer doesn't break for me. Otherwise, it's probably going to break. But you know what? Let's try something else. Let's actually try and see if maybe this is going to work in Debian, because in Ubuntu it doesn't. But here, who knows? So the way you could specify the version of Python that you want to use is with this. Pass it -- Python equals, and then here it's expecting the path to the version of Python you want to use. But because this is Linux, and Linux is awesome, you could just do this and it's still going to work. And then let's pick up some cool name. Let's say, no, I'm not feeling creative. It's just gonna be test env. Oh, cool! It created it. Let's see if we can run it. So cd test env. I think here was no scripts. It was that's right. It's a bin folder, and in the bin folder is the activate script. So what do you mean permission denied? I'm root. I can do whatever I want. So let's go with source. Okay, source activate, and that's it. We're finally in. We're in the virtual environment. What kind of a version are we working with here? 3.9. So this worked. We managed to specify which version we want. You do something like pip install, and then let's go with not plus. This is too much. xlrd, something like this. Well, I get a bunch of errors here every single time. This is because this is not my system version of Python, and something goes wrong here. So every time I want to work on a project like this, what I will normally do is change the system version of Python. And once it's changed, then I'm able to use the pip installer. So this is done once again with this software here, update, alternatives. With this update alternatives install, and this is basically how it's done. Let's copy paste this. Nobody has the time to sit down and write this. And what's happening here is so first of all, you call the executable here. This is the argument you pass it to install a new I don't know what it's called for this application, but basically it's going to allow you to change the versions you want. And this is the path to the symbolic link you want to change. We're not going to touch this because this is the Python symbolic link in the user bin. That's exactly what we want to work with. This is a name I think you're freely able to change, but we won't because then it's going to get confusing. And this is the directory to your Python installation that you want to use. And in this case, we're going to go with 7 or something, 3.7. And this number here, I'm going to show you what it does now. Okay, so that's finished. And let's go with update alternatives. And then you have to type config. And here you type this keyword that you set right here. So in this case, Python. There's only one. Okay, fine. We have to install more than one. Fair enough. And here, don't forget to change this number in the end because this is going to give us then our options in a little menu that we're going to create. So this is our first alternative and this is our second alternative. And right here we can use another version, another directory of, so user bin Python 2.7, for example, an older version. Like that, nothing else needs to change. This is the same symbolic link that we want to work with, and everything else remains the same. So we just change the version of Python that we want to be at, let's say at index 2 right here. We added this one as well. And now we can do update alternatives config Python like this, and you get this nice pretty menu. And right here you could change the version that you want to use. So let's say that so far right now we have 2.7 as the default, and if you type 2 it's going to change it to 3.7. Now what happened now? Let's see, Python version. Now it's 3.7. What happened now is this symbolic link that we talked about right here. So this symbolic link that is in this directory, user bin, now points to the update alternatives folder right here, which in turn points to the version that we want to use. So yeah, this could be a little bit convoluted, I suppose, but it's good stuff to know if you're learning Python to be a sysadmin, for example. It's good to know your OS a little bit better. So you know what, let's go back to the desktop. Actually, let's just do it this way. Home over her desktop. Shit. Like this. And now when we create another one, Virtualenv, and we say, there's no need to specify the version. We're just going to say something like my next project. You could be more creative than this. And my next project was, what happened? Module not found. Well, fuck. All right, I think I figured it out more or less. I just went back to the apt package manager here and I searched the repositories again. But this time I searched for Python 3 like this. And I was like, okay, maybe there's a separate pip installer somewhere here. Well, this is too much stuff. So let's do Python 3 pip directly, search for it like this. And yeah, so there's another package here that's called Python 3 pip. Well, it makes sense that it's going to be two different ones for the newer versions of Python and the old one. I'm not even going to pretend to understand how this works. I'm also not going to research it in great detail. I'm just going to go ahead and install it. apt get install Python 3 pip like this. And maybe now it's going to work. I don't know, because maybe the other one is just working for 2.7 or I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Let's hope we manage to fix it. Okay, I'll get back to you when this is done. All right, cool. That's done. Well, let's see if it's going to work with our Python 3 versions. We have 3.9 and 3.7. Okay. Oof. Clear like this. What was our version now? I forget. Version. Okay, so now we're with the 3.7 one, and pip install is not going to work. We know this already, and here we have to find out what it's called. Of course, I'll be always tempted to do something like this, and this is the first time I did it this way. That's why I'm going to try again now, even though it's not going to work. Python 3 pip install, and I'm going to try to install Virtualenv that way, and of course it's not going to work because it's not called that. It's confusing somewhat. I'm going to use the find command again, and I'm going to search my user bin directory for something that's called pip again, and maybe Maybe I get to find it. So, hop, pip. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. What am I searching here? I did something wrong. Okay. So, all right, that's right. I forgot to specify. So here we have to say name. Okay, so we have pip, pip2, and pip3. Nice. Let's go with pip3. Pip3 install virtualenv like that. Sorry, I was expecting like a little progress bar there. let's go ahead and see if we can actually use it now. We're with 3.7 now, and we're gonna go to the desktop. Okay, so back here we're gonna try and create a virtual environment with 3.7 now, and let's see if it's gonna work. So virtualenv and a test with Python 3.7. Nice. Okay, now it worked. So let's go inside, activate it, and see if it's gonna work. What's going on? Come on. Jesus. Okay. Actually, let's go ahead and activate it right away. We didn't need to go in. So I'm gonna go with source bin activate. It worked. Okay. Python version. Nice. Okay. Well, it seems to be working. And what's gonna happen if I do pip list? Nothing. I actually have to do pip3 list. I'm pretty sure. Pip3 list. And can I install something just for this virtual environment? Let's check it out. Pip3 install Excel RD, for example. Done. Pip list. We have Excel RD here. Let's deactivate. And let's check if it's going to show up also for the system-wide installation. Well, it doesn't seem that it's there if it's alphabetical, and it is. Okay, cool. It worked. So it's just two different pips. We have pip for the old version and pip for the new version, which is fine. Actually, it's totally normal. We can't expect that we're going to use just one pip Python package installer, module installer for all our versions. So yeah, that's something that you need to pay attention to. You can't just go with pip. You have to install Python 3 pip on Linux. There's lots of stuff like that. It's not as user-friendly as using Windows, but it's fine. I mean, we got to the same point at this. At this point, we could do the exact same stuff that we did in Windows. Another thing that I think may happen to you on another distribution is when you install virtualenv with your pip installer, it's not going to be installed in one of the directories in your path variable right here. So you need to add it. That's another thing. And the way you add it is you have to edit bash script. Let's do this now. Let's do this now real quick. So let's say that you want to add something to the path variable. And this something might be, let's say, a script that you've been working on in Python, or virtualenv, it's not added here, or an installation of Python for some reason doesn't get included in the path variable. How are you going to add another directory to the path variable? Well, if you remember in Windows, it was all nice and it was pretty much just GUI stuff. You click a couple buttons and then you copy paste the directory. That's super nice, but come on, it's not going to be so easy here. So what's going to happen when we edit this file is every time you start a session, this is going to run and it's going to basically add another directory to your path variable. And the way you do it is with export path, and then you would say something like get my path variable and then add to it. And then here you specify new directory, just whatever directory you want. So I don't know where it might end up, but just find where it is. Just find the directory that you need to add. So first search for the file that you want to execute, or for the directory that you want to add, and then just you add it here. And that's how it works. Don't forget to save the bash script, and that's about it. Now I'm editing the root one. So let's see if it's going to have actually any effect on all of my users, and I think it should, but I'm curious to find out. I don't know. So let's add something else. Let's add some random one. Let's add home Odahar. All right. Okay, so let's add this one. not a great idea, but we're gonna add this one. I'm gonna say yes. And let's see. I started the terminal again, hoping that this bash script is gonna execute. So let's see if it affected this user as well and not just the root. Yeah. So let's go with echo path, and well, user games, user log. Well, it's not here. Let's see if maybe it showed up for the root. Yes, the path variable is changed here. We appended it here right at the end. We added the directory that we wanted. So what you need to do to add it for this user as well is, well, be this user first of all. So, and as this user, what you could do is just add it again. So I could go bash rc, bash rc like this. And we're in this file, but this time for this user, right? Not for the root. So we have to do the same. Well, there's lots more stuff here. We could do something like path. Well, no, export path, and then equals, and then we can say append. In the end, we're going to append some other directory, which is going to be home. Let's say Odahar. Is it capital? I have no idea. Odahar and documents or something. Great. Let's save this. And let's restart our shell. Right there. And now it's going to work. Echo path like this. Well, anyway, it's incredibly unstructured, but I don't care. Thank you very much for watching, if anybody watched it all. And yeah, I'm going to do another one soon.